Firstly, to all the members present. Also, welcome Honourable Minister Kachalia and the delegation from the DPCI. Also, special word of welcome to the AG and her team and support staff, parliamentary staff, members of the media, and everybody present. Welcome to this meeting of SCoAG on this Friday morning. And we are a little pressed for time due to mini plenaries, budget votes that are starting and commencing at 10 o'clock. So we should aim to finish prior to 10. And for that reason, I am going to request that we defer the consideration of the minutes of our previous meeting to the end of this meeting. And if we don't have sufficient time, we'll stand that over to our next meeting to consider the minutes. With that amendment and understanding, Zabeda, can you please flight the agenda for us on the screen? Members, you see the proposed agenda, and with the amendment that I'm proposing to move the minutes, but then it's a briefing by the DPCI, which is our main item today, and then consideration of the committee's annual performance plan. That's household issues to a certain extent, so I will release our guests, the delegations and the AGSA for those items, and also the consideration of our report on the oversight visit we conducted on the 27th of March. There's then also just an additional item just on the envisaged study tour that I just want to discuss with members at the end, and then we'll also, if there's time, consider the minutes. So with those amendments, could I request and ask if there's a member who would propose for the adoption of the agenda?
Chairperson Sanele Mwali, I move for adoption of the agenda.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Honourable Mwali. Is there a seconder?
Good morning, Chairperson. Mr. Brathi here. I second the...
Thank you, Honourable Subrati. Good morning to you as well, and thank you for that. Then the agenda is adopted as such, and we can move straight into the main item of today, which is the briefing by the DPCI on material irregularities referred to it by the AG. And I'm going to request Minister Kachalia, I'm going to hand over to you to introduce the delegation, and you can then proceed. Thank you very much, Minister.
So, thank you, Chairperson. Good morning to you and
recording in progress
to the members of the committee. I'm not sure who's online. General Nkosi is the head of the DPCI. I'm not sure if General Dimpani has joined us, and whether the two deputy ministers, Deputy Minister Matala and Dr. Bishelo, are on the platform. But let me greet everyone who's on the platform, and then hand over back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. I was told that the presenter would be Lieutenant Colonel Siliani. I'm not sure who's the head of the delegation, but hand over to the presenter to take us forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Honorable Chairperson, let me greet you and the committee and greet the Minister and the Deputy Ministers present and all the meeting attendees. I am Lieutenant General Nkosi, the Acting National Head of the DPCI. With me in this meeting, it's Lieutenant General Lamboto, our Divisional Commissioner, and the other colleagues within the commercial crime environment where these cases are handled. We decided to present the cases case by case, and we will share the slides and have a brief explanation in terms of what is the current progress per case. And we just want to assure the committee that from the DPCI perspective, these investigations remains a priority. We are having investigating officers within the provinces who are handling these cases. And we also have 50% of the cases are handled by capacities within the DPCI head office. We further have a monitoring mechanism on a monthly basis. The head office coordinators of these cases engage with the provinces where those cases are being investigated, inclusive of the matters that are handled at head office. So without any further ado, I will ask Lieutenant General Lamboto. He will take us through the presentation, and we can be able to make additions if there is a need. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Good morning to the Honorable Chairperson and the Honorable members, the Minister of Police and the Deputy Minister, and my colleagues on the platform. I would like to present, and if it is okay with the Chairperson, I will speak to the presentation and I will not read it per sentence on the presentations. Move to the slide 3 seconds. Oh, if we can move to the next slide, please. This we were talking to this is our presentation outline. We've got the introduction, the overview, the status of the cases, and the overview of investigations, as well as the conclusion. Next slide, please. On this one is just we were just explaining how we got here. This is just an introduction, and we may pass. Thank you. This one, Chairperson, we wanted to indicate the nature of the cases that we deal with. Here we deal with investigations that are very paper intensive, and some of the witnesses who are no longer in the environment that they were at during the time of the auditing, you will find that they will require substantial documentary evidence themselves for them to compile the affidavits. It's also important to mention, Chairperson, that, and the honorable members, that when a case is opened in 2023, the actual auditing could possibly be 4 or 5 years earlier than that time. And if it is in the municipalities in particular, you would find that the MM and the CFOs that would have been in place at that time would no longer be at the position that they used to hold. That's what we were trying to explain here. And also the investigation are prosecutor-guided investigations. Thank you. Can we move to the next slide? This one it's similar to what I was saying on the slide before, where we indicate, where we say illustrative case example, that a case registered in May 2025, but the audit period would have been 2023 to 2025 financial year. May we pass that? Now, this is the overview of the cases. We have received material irregularities, which are 17, and we've opened 17 cases for those. But in addition to those, there will be 4 other cases that would have come out of the investigation of those cases that gives us the total of 21. So I just wanted to explain the difference between the MI referrals and the actual number of cases on hand. And currently we've got 4 cases that are on the court roll. And we also have 3 cases that we've referred to the NPA for decision. These are cases that we have finalized our investigations on them, and we are now awaiting the decision of the NPA. We also have 14 cases that are still under investigation. And on the previous matters that we had presented last year, I think it's September last year, one of those cases, we've had a guilty verdict, and that is the one at the bottom of this slide. Thank you. Can we move to the next? In this slide, we are giving the Honorable Chairperson and the members the breakdown of where the cases are, which departments and municipalities. That will be the second column on my left. And then we also indicate the number of referrals and the cases that we have. And it's almost similar to the one before, but on this one, we are highlighting the specific municipalities or departments that we are dealing with. And then we'll also see that we will have 17 referrals and 21 cases as I've indicated on the previous slide. The next slide, please. May we pass to the next slide again? All right. Now, these are matters that are before court. These matters relate to the failure by the SA Post Office to secure their assets as a result of that failure. Cards were stolen, and as a result, we arrested the people that we've mentioned on the slide. This case is before court, and the case will be appearing again on the 26th of this month. It will be for plea. The next slide, please. Also, this one is similar. It's also relating to the SASSA card that would have been using the post office. And in this matter, we had the manager at the post office who was paying his own people and acting as if he is paying the legitimate beneficiaries. This matter is already on trial, and the trial will be continuing on the 28th of July. Next slide, please. The same with this one. It's an employee again at the post office that also did similar to the manager on the previous slide, where she was pretending to be paying legitimate beneficiaries, which was not the case. This matter has been through court. All that is now outstanding is that there will be judgment that will have that is outstanding, and I think that I need to apologize for that date, but we will have to provide the correct date because it can't be the 16th. It's Friday is today. All right. Thank you. In this one, it is the now if we may pass this one, please. Thank you. And this one, it relates to the same, where a number of SASSA cards that were recovered, and the actual loss of about R1 million as a result of the cards that were stolen and also the money that was stolen. This matter is also on the court roll, and it will continue for trial on the 28th of May. All right. This one is a matter at Zonke Zizwe, and it relates to possession of cards, and the value of the cards plus the cash that was stolen is the one that we've indicated, Honorable Chair. And we've also further indicated that the sentence that those people were given, Mr. Zulu, they're getting 10 years, and Vukutu getting 8 years direct imprisonment. And in addition, the court also issued an order for the forfeiture of cash in the amount of 261,000. That amount was forfeited to the state. That's a conviction that I spoke of earlier, Chairperson and honorable members. Next slide, please. Right. Thank you. This slide talks to the municipality of Machabeng. This is in the Free State, where AGSA discovered fraudulent activities regarding the building of a stormwater system, where several irregular deviations were approved regarding this project amounting to 15 million. Multiple payments were affected by the municipality officials to the contractor and consultants for services that were not rendered. These matters is at an advanced stage. We have forwarded it to the Specialized Commercial Crimes Court for decision, and we are awaiting the decisions. One of those that I mentioned earlier, Chairperson and honorable members, that these are the case. There will be those three matters that we have finalized their investigation, and we are awaiting decision on them. The next one, please. This one relates to the TVET College in the Northern Cape. This one relates to fictitious quotations were used for procuring goods at Northern Cape. It's alleged that the suppliers' quotations were modified by increasing prices. Authorized officials at the institution authorize this payment without identifying possible instances of fraud. So this one also, the same chairperson who finalized the investigation on these matters, we forwarded the case for decision with the Director of Public Prosecutions. We did that in April, which is last month, chairperson. May we move to the next? Thank you. This one is in Mahikeng. It relates to the Department of Human Settlement, where the suppliers were overpaid, and where with the work that there was no, the payment was exceeding the actual work that would have been done. This investigation is also finalized. It's also forwarded to the prosecutor for decision, the chairperson and honorable members. We are awaiting them to decide on them. Next slide, please. This matter is in the Free State, Mohakari local municipality. It relates to the contributions of the employees to their pension funds, where the actual funds were not paid over to the actual to the pension fund, but rather were used by the municipality for its own operations. This one, what is only outstanding for us is that those that we have identified, the 3 individuals that we have identified as people that must account for this conduct, is for us to obtain their warning statement and for the case to be taken also for decision. We have covered a big portion of investigation here. We will soon be taking this docket as well for decision. And next one, please. This one is relating to the Mohakari local municipality. But on this one, it's the construction of the abstraction works in the Orange River and the equipping of 2 raw water pump stations. The AGSA audit team found that there is a reasonable suspicion that payments were made to a contractor for work that was not performed on this project. And this investigation is also advanced, but I think 2 to 3 months still outstanding here before we take it for decision. But we have made reasonable progress as well, Chairperson. Thank you. Next slide, please. These ones, we have 3 cases in relation to the 3 material irregularities that were referred to us. We've opened a case in Pretoria Central, Park Road, and Hartsfontein. In these material irregularities relates to the post office, and in that they failed to put measures in place to secure the assets of the post office in relation to the cards, failed to secure them, and the integrated grant payment system was compromised. The matter is under investigation. The dockets have been forwarded to the prosecutor for guidance, but this one is not for the decision yet. This one was for the prosecutor to assess the evidence that we have compiled, and then to give us further indications of what more would he or she need for us to finalize this investigation. Thank you, Chairperson. The next slide, please. This one is in the Free State. It's a Park Road case. It relates to the Free State Development Corporation, where the Development Corporation appointed a service provider who was supposed to recover the monies that is owed to the corporation. However, that supplier did not pay the money over to the Development Corporation. So this one, we are also at an advanced stage in the investigation, but we have not yet submitted it for decision. Next slide, please. This one, we would have registered 4 cases in the Free State, and it relates to the Department of Human Settlement, where funds were paid for UIF claims, whereas the findings was that the MI identified relates to a 2018 contract between the Free State Department of Human Settlement and several entities. And one of those entities was involved in all the 4 matters that we have registered on this matter. The case is under investigation, and we are making progress, but this one is also not close to us taking it for decision, but the investigation is progressing. Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you. This one is in Garsfontein. This one, Chairperson, relates to the Department of Defense. The department, the Air Force Base in Waterkloof requested, or there was a request for quotation for 1,000 liters of fuel. This fuel was supposed to be delivered by rail. And if it is delivered by rail, it works out cheaper than if it is delivered by road. So the initial quotations were for by rail, but by that time it was actually delivered, it was delivered by road, which resulted in the increased amount per liter. And in addition to that, instead of delivering the 1,000 liters, a less amount than the amount that the supplier was paid for. As a result, we registered this matter, and this matter is under investigation. We have made reasonable progress here with our assistance from the Office of AGSA as well. And we are expecting to finalize this investigation shortly and to take it for decision with the public prosecutor. Thank you, Chairperson. If we can move to the next. This one is in the Northwest Province, Department of Human Settlement again. This one, during the audit conducted in the Northwest for the period 2021 and 2020 to 2021 and 2021 to 2022 financial years, it was discovered that the department entered into a contract with a service provider to provide project management unit services. It was found that the service provider submitted duplicate claims on this one. And the investigation also here, Chairperson and honorable members, is at an advanced stage. We are expecting to have this matter before the DPP soon for decision as well. Next slide, please. This one is in the Madibeng local municipality. This one relates to unauthorized debit orders against the municipality's bank account. These are accounts that have found themselves being paid for by the municipality, but the municipality does not owe these individuals or entities any payment at all. After this, the Madibeng municipal implemented monthly bank reconciliation to detect further debit orders that were being paid by this. So what I would want maybe to add on this one, Honorable Chairperson, is that in addition to the matters that would have been brought to our attention by AGSA, also during investigation, we established that there were more other debit orders that needed further investigation. So this matter is still under investigation, but we do not foresee that it will take us long because we have already gotten the bank documents and bank accounts that we are working on. We expect reasonable progress on this one soon. Next one, please. This one is also in Park Road in the Free State. This one relates to the municipality now with excessive overtime, and that overtime could not be supported by documents to justify the payments. So the amount that we have put there is the amount of overtime that was paid, but could not be justified by the documents that are supplied for against those payments. So this matter is under investigation. It's still a new matter, Chairperson and the honorable members. This one we registered it last month. So this one is still an investigation to do on this one. Next slide, please. Thank you, Chairperson. We would be able to take questions. Thank you so much, honorable members and Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant Colonel Siliani, and also to Lieutenant General Nkosi. Your presentation is welcomed. I do want to remind members that we did receive a presentation by the DPCI on the 5th of September last year regarding the same matters and referrals. I'll reflect on that at the end. I'm going to give members the opportunity to interact and to ask questions for clarity and to engage this presentation. But I do want to ask the AG if she would want to come in now and comment. I have one concern, and that is that according to what we've received from the AGSA, there has been 19 material irregularities referred to the DPCI. The presentation we received now speaks to 17. So there's a discrepancy there, and maybe the AG can assist us, and the delegation can also assist us on what and why there is a discrepancy. But AG, you are most welcome if you want to come in now and give us the perspective from that side, because I do think that it's not beneficial to oversight if we only receive one side of the coin. To have a holistic approach and see it from all sides would be beneficial to the committee. So I would give you an opportunity. Thank you, AG.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and good morning to the honourable members. Good morning to the Minister and the senior officials from the South African Police Service, as well as DPCI. I want to thank you, Honourable Wessels, as well as the members of SCoAG for creating this platform for us to report back to SCoAG on how we are progressing in effecting the referrals to DPCI. And I also want to thank the DPCI for preparing this presentation. Let me begin with the reconciliation of the numbers. So in the list that I submitted to yourselves, there's an additional 2 that we've said are referrals in process, which is Tabazimbi and City of Matlosana. So I think that accounts for the difference. So we are at 17 that they currently have. I think we were just trying to indicate that there's more coming through the system within AGSA. So we'll make sure that we continue to reconcile with DPCI. So there is no difference of opinion on that. I am grateful to DPCI for the progress that we are seeing in driving the investigations on the different matters. I think it's going to assist us to continue to join hands between AGSA and DPCI in terms of driving not just more referrals, but more efficient and effective investigations, and ultimately getting the National Prosecuting Authority to investigate. I do believe, Honourable Chair, that from the last engagement, there has been progress, and I think that's quite evident from the presentation that we've just received. What remains for us is to drive much faster referrals from our office, but also quicker action between ourselves and DPCI. We've just recently signed off on a renewal of our MOU between DPCI and AGSA. What it does provide for, which I'm really excited about, is for us to meet not just when we refer matters, but to proactively engage on a risk assessment basis. What that'll do is matters such as the one that we've just reported on, let's say for Mangaung, it would allow us to proactively work with DPCI to quickly assess whether matters around overtime payments that are inappropriate are happening elsewhere, and then to try and drive much quicker action. The other thing I do want to bring to the attention of SCoAG is that we do refer matters directly to DPCI outside of the MI process. And so we don't really report on them on this public platform because the investigations are slightly different. They happen outside of the MI process. As you know, the MI process requires that we report a material irregularity to the accounting officer in the first instance, give them an opportunity to act, and it's only when they don't act that we would then refer. More and more, we are now referring matters directly to DPCI, and we're seeing action in that regard. I believe that a combination of MI referrals, accounting officer direct referrals, but also direct referrals by the AGSA will really start to help us ensure that we do protect public resources, but also that those that fleece the state, be they public servants or suppliers or contractors that interact as business people with the state, where there is wrongdoing, that they are held accountable, and we start to set a different culture. So those will be my remarks at this moment, Chair, and once again, thanking you for the opportunity to engage with the honourable members of SCoAG on this matter, and once again to also thank the DPCI led by the Minister for their presentation and their attention to the MIs from our office. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, AG. Do appreciate the clarity on the 19 as well. I think it's an extra that I missed that might have clarified that, but thank you for that. That does make sense. And thank you also for the update on the Memorandum of Understanding. Honourable members, let me apologize for the noise. The Kezia Park cleaning gardening staff decided to blow leaves whilst the wind is blowing. I think that's a living example of a fruitless action. But regardless, excuse the noise in the background, and let me give members an opportunity to engage. I see the hand of Honorable Subrati, and then Honorable Gachaba, and then Honorable Mente. Honorable Subrati.
Well, thank you, Chairperson. Let me greet you and greet the Minister, the AGSA, and all officials and colleagues and fellow South Africans. Let me also join you in welcoming this presentation, in keeping the SCoAG informed of matters specifically referred by the AGSA. Chairperson, I'd like to begin by making an observation regarding the duration of the length of the cases. Initially, I started recording some of the cases referred in 2021, and as of 2025, the matters are either being investigated at advanced stage of investigation, or they are waiting to be submitted for an outcome. Now, that talks to a lag period. I would have computed at least, between 4 years at the least, and goes on more than that. Chairperson, that is my primary and would be my first concern. What are the reasons underlying this delay, as I would call it, 4 years to 5 years to 6 years, between the time it's reported to DPCI to the time a decision is actually made? Now, we need to get clarity on that elements. Maybe we need to be taken into confidence so that we can better understand the resource allocation limitations. Are there dedicated personnel from DPCI delegated to manage these matters? Or is there so much of other work that it's quite overwhelming? Because it can't be acceptable, Chairperson, that we have to make progress or wait for the decision. And my ignorant understanding of decision is, if you go to the public prosecutor says, we believe you have a strong enough case, we can go forward. Either it's strong enough, we go forward, or it's not strong, you go back, or this doesn't make a case, we should. So in that process also, that leads me to the second question. There is an element of effort that's gone in, resource allocation has taken place. I wouldn't want to call it a wasteful expenditure. It's a learning curve. But then ask the question, how do you then triage the case when you receive the case to ensure which case gets prioritization and which case, how do you triage your cases and you manage your cases so that the ones that are most compelling, where there is a greater chance of conviction, a greater chance of recovery of lost assets, is prioritized? Who owns this process? AGSA has an oversight role. We recall the DPCI because this stems from our responsibility to have oversight over SCoAG. SCoAG refers these matters to DPCI and DPCI. Who owns this process? Who holds DPCI accountable? Does the AG have a meeting with the DPCI and say, I've given you 17 cases. What is your progress on these cases, and why are you not progressing at the rate I would like you? Does the AGSA do that, or is that the purview of this committee? Because if we have that clarity, then I think we will know how we can better schedule our oversight going forward. What are the lessons? Maybe the question around is, in light of, with multiple cases involving the same departments or municipalities, what are the learnings? What are the recurring patterns and weaknesses that are being observed? And how are these being addressed at a systemic level rather than a case-by-case level? Because we clearly could see, and I'm hoping the issues surrounding the SASSA cards particularly, because I noted they were reported in 2021 and 2020. And now we know that Postbank has migration to limit that. I don't know whether the team here can talk to that, because one of the departments that I have oversight over is communications, where we have oversight over the Postbank cards. Has that incidence, and maybe AG can also then contribute because it's probably, has the incidence of the cloning of cards, the cases involving fraudulent use of SASSA cards, has that starting to decline? Is it constant, or is it still a challenge? I'm trying to understand whether the interventions of Postbank, whether it has been effective, or whether we are winning the battle of SASSA cards fraud. Chairperson, I am concerned that there's so much of corruption taking place, and there's so much of instances taking place where we heard of the officials from the post office are brazenly being involved in fraud and SASSA card. Is this information, is this public information that we have, or is it sitting between the two players here? Because when it sits there and it doesn't come out in the public space, it doesn't act as a deterrent. Is there, or can we explore the possibilities of making this public without disclosing the details of the persons? We understand that, but letting the mischief makers out there know that we are on to you, we know what you're up to, because it can't be right, Chairperson, that we wait for 5 years and 6 years and we're lucky get a conviction. Criminals that we onto your case, we have a system. I think there's not enough being told about the work that's being taking place with this intention of A, keeping South Africans informed, and B, to me, more importantly, creating a culture that we will hold you accountable. We have systems of calling you out, we on your case. I think that message should flow. And is it flowing? If it is, we're not hearing it coming through. Maybe I'm missing things. Jefferson, let me maybe pause at this juncture. I just want to make sure. Maybe just the last question is, again, if you talk to the delay concerns, what specific reforms or resource allocations are you implementing to address the systemic bottlenecks and to accelerate the resolution of outstanding cases? Chairperson, as I pause, I humbly submit that a conviction rate of 1 out of 17 or 20 cases, it can't be something that we should be celebrating. It's something that we should be concerned about, and we should be asking the hard questions. Let's go upstream, let's capacitate, let's make this, let's work smarter and not necessarily harder. Thank you so much, Chairperson, for this opportunity to engage this presentation.
Thank you, Honourable Subarati. Appreciate it. Honourable Ligachaba.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning to you, my colleagues, members of the AGSA, Standing Committee, the AG, the Minister and the 2 Deputy Ministers, and everyone present in the meeting. I'll be straightforward to the presentation, Chairperson, as my flight is boarding at 9:05. There seemed to be a discrepancy between the number of material irregularities referred by the AGSA 19 and those reported by the DPCI, which is 17. Can you please explain the uncounted cases and also the processes for tracking and updating referrals in real time? Furthermore, for cases where the AGSA and your numbers of referrals do not align, as is the case here, what steps do you take to reconcile these records and ensure that no material irregularities fall through the cracks due to administrative discrepancies? Your report shows only 1 guilt verdict out of 21 cases, with the majority still under investigation. What concrete steps taking this round to accelerate the pace of investigation and ensure more cases reach prosecution or closure within the next 12 months. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Mente.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning to the colleagues. Good morning, Team SAPS, and good morning to Team AG and our support staff. Apologies, Chair, my voice sounds horrible. I am suffering a terrible flu. Chair, I have issues similar to what Honorable Supriyati have raised in terms of the time frame and the finalization of cases. I think Minister of Police, we have two provinces where we have a ticking time bomb. And I think the people at this point are going to take law into their hands. Northwest and Free State. And I'm not sure why these matters are not being taken seriously. The matter of Free State Hawks, I want to check the following. You are reporting only on the overtime, which was detected 2023-24. That issue, AG, I'm not sure if you have also added the information of the previous audit, because the very same material irregularity arise. And seemingly there's a syndicate operating in Mangaung in particular. There is additional municipalities in Free State. I think 70% of, if not 90% of municipalities in the Free State are dysfunctional and were yet to compile. So I serve in the SCoPA committee where Mangaung came to account last week. And some disturbing information came to the fore regarding Park Road case 915-11-2024. Park Road case 915-11-2024. This case is one of many cases referred to Hawks regarding the solid waste tender of 7 companies that was irregular BEC, that did not even meet quorum, points that were done unfairly, and disqualifying bidders that were qualifying because of whatever reason, or either catership or friendship. And on this case, when we asked if there were 2 people already arrested out of the 7, 2 service providers were arrested, why are they still operating in Mangaung? The answer was the Hawks have advised that they must not terminate those people's tenders because it will disrupt the flow of investigation. I've never heard of such. And those tenders, as a result, they're going to end at the end of June, but they have been in operation since. This, for me, doesn't sit very well. We can't have a law enforcement that is aiding and abetting corruption and allowing people whom we know they are appointed irregular. And you've even arrested 2 of those service providers, but those people are still operating and they are still enjoying the perks of the fiscus from our own pockets. I know this case is not part of this, which it should be. However, simply because this one was not under the material irregularities, you didn't report on it. If you can go and find the information on this case, because the importance of this, us as parliamentarians and the people knowing why are Hawks advising municipalities to not terminate tenders that have obtained irregular. Second to the, second to the overtime issue, there were ghost workers in the same Mangaung. Is that case of ghost workers linked to the case of overtime? If it's not, can we look into it and understand what is happening? Because in Mangaung, it's just a den of thieves. They are appointing friends, they are appointing cadres for tenders, and there's simply no work. It's one thing to do that if there was service delivery, but there's heaps of dumping sites, sewer spilling all over, and nothing is happening in that municipality. But sadly, all of these, they are not giving us joy as members because it doesn't look like we are going to get to the bottom of it anytime soon. What are the challenges? Because if it means the minister must capacitate the DPCI, that must happen because the reason why we are in this dire state through corruption, municipalities at this point, Minister, we are revising the white paper to give municipality more money because as things stand, their budget is not equivalent to the service delivery that they are responsible for. But you cannot, at the state at which municipalities are careless and are corrupt. So the thieving levels in municipalities are high. Can we then get what is going to happen from now going forward? We can't treat this as normal. It is what it is, and therefore there's nothing we can do. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Honourable Vilakazi, followed by Honourable Mofokeng, and then Honourable Mwani. Vilakazi.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning to the colleagues on the call. Thank you for the presentation. Now, the AGSA explicitly states that there's been measurable progress in advancing the referrals made to the SIU, while the majority of matters referred to the DPCI remain under investigation. If the DPCI investigations remain open for years with minimal prosecutions, the effect here is that the deterrent effect of the material irregularity regime weakens. So my question to both the DPCI and the AGSA is, what accounts for the difference in the pace of the cases between the two agencies? I would also like to ask that, I just want to check that it wasn't the same question. Okay, the HSA also states that the majority of DPCI referrals remain under investigation, despite this improved collaboration mechanism. So what measurable improvement then in turnaround times or prosecution rates has resulted from the MOU between the AGSA and DPCI? And these questions mirror the concerns that have been raised by my colleagues since Honorable Suprathi started and those that followed. Again, this one Honorable Suprathi spoke to, but I also want to add my voice. The referrals often arrive years after the conduct occurred. This was mentioned in the presentation. For example, in the Zastron case, the investigation began 10 years later. Now, this raises major oversight concerns, such as degradation of evidence, availability of witnesses. The presentation spoke about the availability or lack thereof of documentation, leading to weak prosecutions and difficulty in tracing funds. So I have a question for the AG. Is the material irregularity process then reactive rather than preventative? And also, if this happens, and as I've already stated, that one of the impacts is that the MIs then do not act as a deterrent because people believe that they can get away with it or they don't see any consequences. What systemic reforms are needed to reduce this delay? And should the AGSA referrals occur earlier in the audit cycle? Another concern for me, and I'm glad the Minister of Police is here, is that the guilty verdict comes from a case involving 216,000 rand. Now, admittedly, or I would imagine, it's easier to investigate 216,000 rand than 2 million rand or 216 million rand. However, cases involving millions or hundreds of millions have no one held accountable or remain under perpetual investigation. This seems to point to the fact that if you have money, you can avoid consequences and serves to undermine public confidence in both the AGSA and the investigative agencies such as the DPCI. So I just wish we could start receiving reports of people who have stolen large amounts, such as the 200 and odd million that we see here in these reports, and the 6 millions at least being put to prison. I wonder how the DPCI would respond to this. Also, excuse me, we can see from the majority of the cases here that this reflects an often stated point by the AGSA that municipal councils are largely truant and weak in oversight and holding officials and even themselves accountable. 2 weeks ago, there was a case in eThekwini where the council overturned a 4 billion rand procurement motion that had been brought to council. But this was on the verge of being passed, but it was only a kind of last-minute intervention by one of the councillors. And now my question to the AGSA is, if we continue to see municipalities acting in this way, and for a long time now, the AGSA has been pointing at municipalities as a particularly weak point in accountability, yet lots and lots of monies get spent and get wasted or get stolen. What needs to be done from the point of view of both the AGSA actually and the DPCI to make councils more responsive to AGSA recommendations and proactive in their actions? Is there possibly a legislative intervention that is necessary? After all, we are lawmakers, and maybe there is something further that we can do to strengthen accountability in this regard. And then I just want to end by following up to the Honorable Mente and ask, we've got these things, it's repeated cases, and very often even the same individuals. So I just want to ask, has the DPCI identified recurring syndicates, officials or consultants even, across municipalities? Or are these still treated as isolated cases? Because it seems that you investigate just the one thing here, but there's a whole lot of the same happening in many other municipalities around the country or a province, whether it's the Free State or even my own KZN. Does the DPCI investigate these as isolated incidents, or are there instances where cartels and syndicates have been identified? I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Honourable for King.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning, honourable members, honourable Minister, Deputy Ministers, DPCI delegation and AG, and thank you for the presentation. Chairperson, I would like to concur with Honourable Mente on the issue of Free State, as a member from Free State as well. I would like to concur with her that the situation in Mangaung remains a serious concern. Then my first question, Chairperson, it will be interesting to know how the DPCI measure the effectiveness of its collaboration with the AGSA and other institutions so far. Can the DPCI cite specific cases where this collaboration has directly led to faster or more effective resolution. My last one, Chairperson, given the complexity and volume of documentation you cited, what new investments, if any, have you made in investigative capacity, digital forensics, and data analytics to improve efficiency and outcomes? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Mofokeng. Honourable Muwali.
Thank you, Chairperson. To avoid the repetition, I want to ask one question from DPCI. We had a similar presentation in September with the same explanations or details, but the movements on investigation. This is 8 months now after they've presented to this committee on these investigations. But there is a very little to no movement on some of the cases that are presented here. So really, we would want to know what is the issue with the delays, because if you take the assumption that the delay, justice delayed is justice denied as well, really the conviction rate is very low. Is very low. When you look at the issues in the municipalities, this picture is not a good picture. Is not what we would expect. And also, people are getting away with these issues if they take long to be addressed or to be taken to book. So really, we want to know what is it that the department would need to be assisted with so that it can fast track, or what are the underlying challenges towards completing investigation or fast tracking investigations. I know that the general, when he was presenting, he said material irregularities are there's more paper to them, so the type of investigation that they have to do, there's more documents and all of that. But what else can be employed in this department so that we ensure that these investigations run quickly as possible, so that we get people to book as soon as possible? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Muwali, and thank you, members, for your questions. Let me also just echo the sentiments of the majority of members with regards to the slow movement. I think it's very good that we had the presentation at the beginning of September last year, and now a little bit more than 8 months later, we again get an update. It's almost in real time that we see there's movement, but it's slow movement. And what concerns me, Minister, is the fact that this is the investigation phase that's taking very long in the majority of these cases. There's cases that are they from 2021 that has been under investigation since its referral in 2021. That's 5 years later. We're not even in the prosecution phase yet and in court yet. And we do know, and we are alive to the fact that we have court case backlogs in our courts, and that a case of these magnitudes, especially the cases involving, like the Honourable Vilakazi said, hundreds of millions of rands, will take very long in the court phase of it to get to a judgment. So if the investigation takes so long, we do have a delay in justice with regards to that already. And we do comprehend the fact, I'm sure, that these investigations are complicated. They involve a lot of require a lot of warm bodies to do these complicated investigations. But the question is, what is needed? Is it budget constraints? human resources constraints, and I think that's what members are also asking, and what I just want to echo, and especially from the executive authority, I want to get a sense of how this can be addressed and how Parliament can play its role to put more emphasis on this. I also want to emphasize or echo the sentiments regarding the Free State. My constituency is also the Free State, and it's concerning that the majority of these cases are from the Free State, and as the Honourable Mente alluded to, this is just a drop in the ocean of the number of cases there actually are involving Free State municipalities and Free State departments. And something needs to be done to actually prevent that, and consequences is the one thing that can act as a detergent and prevent this flow of money from the Free State coffers away from the people. Then just one question on a discrepancy that I picked up between the presentation that we received in September last year on the Madibeng case. In that presentation, the DPCI indicated that the case has been submitted to the Deputy Public Prosecutor, Mbatu, on the 3rd of July 2025. In today's presentation, that case is status is that it is under investigation. If that can just be clarified more, I heard the Colonel explaining that there's certain further investigations, but I just want to understand, was it then referred back from the Deputy Public Prosecutor for further investigation, or why is it now again under investigation when it was already submitted for prosecution? That's my questions. I'm going to hand back to you, General Nkosi, to answer the questions, your delegation, and then I'll also give the AGSA, the AG opportunity, and followed by the Minister. Thank you very much, General.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chairperson, for the questions from the members. I will try and take them one by one, but there are questions which were repeated by the members. So as I move with my list of questions here, if there is a repeat, I would make sure that I just indicate that this has been taken care of. First, the questions and concerns raised by the Honorable Supriyatin concerning the delays in the investigations, and in which we have been requested to take the committee into confidence that we are taking these cases seriously and they are being prioritized. I just want to indicate that as initially alluded, that these are serious and complex cases that ordinarily takes time to investigate, but I just want to paint a picture in terms of the cases that we are currently looking at, which is also one of the contributing aspects towards the time that is taken to finalize these investigations. If I were to make an example with the case as an example, Velcom case 553 of 8/2021. Indeed, this case was referred to the DPCI in 2021. But if we consider the commission of the crime was committed between 2019 and 2020. And in these cases, people who worked either as an example at a municipality or in a government institution, when the investigation starts after the matter has been referred to us, those individuals are most probably not necessarily always now available. And also, when the investigating officers deal with these cases, they are also cautious on who to approach and who not to approach, because some of the implicated individuals might be required to provide affidavits, which might also be problematic in the long run. So we did an analysis in any way on the cases that we have. As an example, the one from Kimberley, the matter gets reported after a lapse of 3 years, and the Mahikeng after the lapse of 5 years. But it is not because of the Auditors General's fault. I'm just trying to make it clear that these matters, when the investigation starts, there is quite some time lapse. And the more that there's time lapse trying to get the historical information, it becomes a bit difficult. And the witnesses from whom we require statements, they need to rely on specific documents as evidential material. And further, that to perhaps deal with the matters in the Free State, as they were highlighted as one of the matters that we have taken too long to finalize. The Zastron case, which is a 2025 matter, the crimes were committed in 2015, and the case was referred to us in 2025. And what then transpired in this particular case, as an example, together with the other cases linked to it, there was a recent court matter that dealt with the municipal workers' retirement funds, which was a matter between the municipal workers' retirement fund and the Mafube local municipality. And the judgment gave us some lessons which the NPA, as we investigate, we agreed on realigning our investigation strategy to ensure that we take care of what the courts have now set as a precedence in dealing with similar matters. So this very same judgment that the court has made affects several municipalities. As an example, Kopanong, Mafube, Litsimeng, Tukuluho, Muhari. And these cases, therefore, requires us to broaden the scope of the investigation. And as we broaden the scope of the investigation or realign our investigation strategy, then there is obviously time delays, but that is not a justification from us to delay investigations. We do prioritize these investigations, but I'm raising this to try and indicate that we have in fact put together a team, as indicated earlier in my opening remarks, that 50% of these cases, even though they are in Mafikeng, in the Free State, as an example, they are investigated at head office component, which is our section known as the Serious Economic Offences Unit. And the method we use to investigate, it's not an individual carrying a case, but it is a team effort, and we are hopeful, therefore, that before the end of this year, if we were to put a timeline as initially requested by the honorable members, we are hopeful that will make a significant improvement. And one other thing that we have raised in the past in any way, which we are working on, it's the issue of capacitation. We are getting members from through our recruitment processes, and we are obviously also taking all possible precautions to ensure that we prioritize these matters. We are even aware that matters where the public purse is a victim, they remain prioritized. So I can just end there on the part of the delays to say we are convinced we have put initiatives in place to make sure that the cases are prioritized. Further on the recurring patterns through municipalities, whether they are syndicates operating, I believe that through our collaboration with the AGSA, we will be able to identify these recurring patterns, and if there is a way to proactively handle these matters as initially alluded to, we will take all possible steps to ensure that we deal decisively and we stop whatever criminality that we are able to deal with there and then. And on the post office corruption matters, whether there is an increase or not, I cannot safely say yes or no. But if there is information that comes to our attention, in collaboration with our crime intelligence environment, we will be able to work proactively on such investigations. We do have two methods of investigations. We've got the open, normal investigation into crime, but we also have confidential investigation. If information is provided to us, we will in any way deal with that covertly so and decisively. The questions then from Honorable Harapa regarding the unaccounted cases. I think the issue was on the discrepancies. It was mentioned earlier by the AGSA to indicate that these are cases that will be referred to us, and there is in any way no current discrepancy in terms of the figures. And also, if there were to be discrepancies, at times we use case numbers, which is the case reference number, which might at times be more than the actual referrals. You can have an instance where one referral is equated either to 3 or 4 different cases. There was one guilt verdict, which is the observation. Yes, indeed. The other cases are still under investigation, and they have not yet. They are not yet through trial, except those that were mentioned earlier in the presentation. And we are hopeful that if those matters are finalized, the possibility to get more guilt verdicts will be achieved. And also to indicate that the method that we use to investigate all these referred cases, it's through collaboration, a multidisciplinary approach, especially the prosecution guided investigation with the prosecutors. And I can assure this committee that in all these cases, we have the support of the NPA, and we have the support of the AGSA. And as the teams continue to investigate and they are confronted with aspects in these investigations that requires special attention and special knowledge from the AGSA, we normally consult. And that is part and parcel of the MOU, which we were talking about. And also, we have agreed to say on a continuous basis, we should be having our own engagements to make sure that there is proper monitoring and tracking of progress on these matters. And honorable members, I can assure you that we will be able to turn the tide on these matters. The questions are from Honorable Mente with regard to the Northwest and the Free State. As indicated earlier, that through this judgment that has taken place, we are working on the matters, but we have broadened the investigation to make sure that we cater for what the courts have determined for us to say. For instance, we will be targeting both institutions and individuals who are implicated in these investigations. We will further be doing or following the money trail on these investigations, and we will also publicize our successes, which is a matter of deterrence from potential criminals. And the syndicate operating in Mangaung, we will gladly accept that information if it is shared with us, so that we are able to start an investigation. We will engage with our colleagues in the Free State. Perhaps they already have such information, and to ensure that we monitor the progress to investigate not only the syndicate in Mangaung or any other syndicate in the country that might be identified to be perpetrating such crimes. With regard to the advice to allow service providers to continue operating, I engaged the provincial head in the Free State of the DPCI, and she indicated that their focus is on the investigation of crime and not the contractual obligations between the municipalities and those service providers. And such advice was never given at any stage by us, and we can in any way follow up on that, but we do not necessarily advise on contracts whether an individual should proceed or not proceed. Ours, it's safely to focus on the investigation, and that matter it's also handled in collaboration with the NPA, and I'm advised that the cases involved here are with the NPA currently for further consideration. And the issue of capacitation of the DPCI to deal with the municipalities, yes, indeed there are more cases under investigation nationally, and as indicated that we do have recruitment strategies. We do get members from time to time, but at the same time, there are also members retiring and others resigning. And also, as far as investigation is concerned, the members we have in the DPCI are members that are recruited in different investigative or environments. So there is in and out, but yes, indeed, we will prioritize, we will continue to prioritize the employment of members to deal with these investigations. But as for these cases that we are appearing before today, I need to reiterate that we have put teams here. We have put officers at the head office here who are monitoring the investigations. And as far as the fact that the presentation looks similar to the one in September, I think when we appear again, we will be better positioned to rephrase perhaps the presentation so that it highlights what progress has taken place in particular cases. I think for obvious reasons, we put information in the slides that are sufficient to advise and to inform the honorable committee members, but we will find a way just to have some sort of timelines set and make it visible as to what progress have we achieved. The questions from Honorable Vilagazi to say what accounts in the pace of the cases between the SIU and the DPCI. Perhaps the difference is in fact not there, because the SIU, although they also receive referrals and we receive as the DPCI referrals from the SIU and also from the AGSA. We have a good working relationship between both government structures, and the SIUs, their focus is more into the recovery and the investigation. But if there are matters referred by them to us, we do the same. We continuously collaborate, engage, and we get the necessary support. But also just to indicate that we have what we call an operational committee, where the SIU cooperates with the DPCI and the NPA, SARS, and other government institutions, where we also track matters between ourselves to ensure that the matters they move timeously. I have responded on the MOU to say the MOU provides us with better opportunities to deal with the work differently, to be more preventative than being reactive. Where crime has already been committed, it will allow us to fast track the investigations, it will allow us an opportunity to engage more robustly so, and in a more enhanced manner and a more structured manner, where we can hold each other accountable. The amount, indeed, it's important when an investigation is being carried out, but the amount does not necessarily determine the time that will be taken to finalize an investigation. We note that obviously where the amount is minimal, we need to move with speed and finalize the investigation. However, at times, as mentioned earlier, that the availability of witnesses and or documents remains a challenge. And yes, we will make sure that those who are guilty of crime, or those who are found to have committed crime, in collaboration with the NPA, they appear before courts and they account for the crimes they have committed. And the issue of the recurrences, the syndicates across municipalities have responded to that, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Mofokeng requested us to cite specific cases where the collaboration is seen to be working. We will be able to provide such detail in the next appearance, but as indicated, our colleagues, the investigating team, especially the coordinator from head office here, is in constant collaboration and contact with advocates within the AGSA and all the employees who are relevant to assist us in either getting documents or in ensuring that investigations are fast-tracked. And the new investigative methods, such as the enhancement in data analytics and other best practices, and as far as investigations are concerned, that I can indicate that this indeed it is employed, and we are obviously always a learning organization, because investigation of crime, it's complex and evolves. So from time to time, we do learn from other institutions, other police organizations, and we improve the manner in which we investigate. And if they are specific deficiencies that we identify, the SAPS has a budget and we have our technology management services that assist us in this regard. But we note and appreciate that such comments are made so that we are able to resolve such deficiencies. The movements on the investigation, which is the questions from Honorable Mwali, relates to the delays as well. There is very little or no movement in these cases. I indicated earlier that we'll find a way to showcase or to demonstrate what the movement in these cases is, and to deal with the concept of cases taking long. And yeah, the underlying challenges, obviously, when we deal with these cases, we'll have to be able to indicate case by case as to what is the cause, or maybe what causes the delay, so that data can get unblocked. On the final part from yourself, Honorable Chairperson, the matter that was indeed sent for decision on 3 July 2025, the case is back with us for further investigation. Also, just to indicate that in this prosecution-guided investigation methodology that we employ, the cases are moving between the NPA and ourselves. There is continuous meetings, deliberations, reading of affidavits, and whether because their task is in any way to guide the investigation towards presenting such to court. So there will always be matters referred for decision, and either returned back with new requests or for clarity, or either returned back to us, say, if the decision has been made, either to prosecute or not to prosecute. I can just end the Honorable Chairperson. I think I have tried to cater for the questions as much as possible. But I can assure you that we'll continue as the DPCI to do our work properly, without fear, nor favor, nor prejudice. Thank you, Chair.
Indeed.
Thank you very much, Colonel. Appreciate it. I missed the WhatsApp Honorable Mente. Honorable Mente had just an urgent question for the AG. Honorable Mente, I'll give you an opportunity to ask that question.
Thank you very much, Chair. Now, AG, I want to check, have you referred the issue of the water tankers, the corruption of the water tankers? You had a dedicated report on water tankering, which was a corruption of a lot of money. I want to check, have you referred that to the DPCI? Secondly, can the DPCI share with us this court order or this court judgment, which then gives a leeway for Hawks to tell a municipality to not terminate contracts while they are under investigation? Because if that's the case, we might as well close shop. These tenders continue, they are not terminated, yet they are acquired irregular. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mente. I will give opportunity for follow-up questions, but let me first give opportunity to the AG to respond. AG.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and to the honourable members that have posed questions. And I want to thank the DPCI for their remarks as well. Maybe let me start with the last question first. Honourable Mente, yes, we have referred matters to the DPCI on water tankering services, and some of that has been through direct referrals, which we don't give too much airtime on this public platform. You may also recall, Honourable Mente, that the COD, the certificate of debt that we issued in Nakamudiri Mulema last year, at the heart of it was a water tankering service that had been mismanaged in terms of ensuring that value for money was being protected. And that loss in substance around an ill-managed contract for water tankering services. But the short answer is yes, indeed, we've done it through direct referrals. I will keep my remarks short with your permission, Honourable Chair, highlighting that, yes, we do track these matters, Honourable Subrati, directly with DPCI, but I do believe that this sort of engagement with SCoAG does assist. As you've seen, there has already now been traction on the Machabeng matter, which I know I've lamented about at SCoAG as well. The trends that we're seeing around the SASSA cards are looking a little bit better, but we will finish the PFMA audits currently underway and report on that specifically to SCoAG. We are seeing trends around overtime payments. We're worried about standing time that's being paid to construction companies and contractors inappropriately. So you'll see a number of those MIs related to that space. We're also seeing the misuse of implementing agents who are not being held accountable, who are then getting money that should be rendered back to the state, and that isn't being done. Those are some of the trends that we're seeing alongside the water tankering ones that I think will form part of our engagement with DPCI from a risk assessment point of view. In terms of the reconciliation, I think the DPCI also responded to say that the two additional matters between 17 and 19 relate to two municipal issues that we've not yet finalized the referral process of. So we shared that with SCoAG from a completeness point of view to indicate that we're currently working on referrals for City of Matlosana as well as Tabazimbi. Once that's done, it'll form part of, it'll make up the 19. There's a particular matter which I do think is important for me to express myself on, and it was raised mostly by Honourable Vilakazi, about whether or not the MI process in nature is reactive. The audit process by nature is always going to be post a transaction. So we will pick up a matter once there has been a transaction, and it's always after the financial year has ended. The MI process, similarly, follows the audit process. So if in the audit process we identify a material irregularity, then we can raise it. And we start off by notifying the accounting officer. It is he or she that must then act on the matter, investigating, cancelling a contract, referring matters to law enforcement, training and disciplining staff, and recovering resources. That's their primary job as accounting officers. And of course, the executive authority ought to hold them accountable as well as oversight. Our powers are complementary. And so when you see us referring matters, it's when we've given an opportunity for the accounting officer to refer and they haven't. And then we realize that on follow-up that they failed to do what they said they were going to do, and then we act. The proactive referrals, we believe, are something of a remedy we can put in place so that we can speed up the attention of law enforcement onto particular issues. But that's over and above the MI process. But I do want to remind us all that the MI process will always follow the audit process, which in its nature is post factum. The trick is to make sure that we get preventative controls in place. Accounting officers must be held accountable for not just dealing with a particular MI, but also indicating how they are strengthening controls and monitoring procedures so that they have some comfort that there won't be recurrence. It's about making sure that we have, more often than not, controls that will prevent a problem, importantly detect a problem, and that accounting officers in the first instance act on those problems. The MI process will always serve as a complementary mechanism by nature. What I am delighted about, and it speaks to a comment that Honourable Mende made, and I know Honourable Mufokeng also referred to, which is the importance of the oversight mechanisms that must come into play from province and national over municipalities. And it has been encouraging to see the actions being taken by the National Assembly and its relevant committees, as well as by the National Executive in the municipal space. Similarly, we've seen greater action by the other role players in the accountability ecosystem, being those at the provincial level. And yes, the movement is slow, honourable members, but it is further than where we were when we first met in September, and certainly a lot further than when we were before that. So I do want to encourage the honourable members of SCoAG to keep this sort of interaction and attention on this matter on your radar. We are working better, I believe, between ourselves and DPCI, but we are a long way away from having the sort of cadence and effectiveness that we should have. So I do think that ongoing attention by SCoAG will assist both of us to stay on track in driving the improvements that we must. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair.
Thank you very much, AG. Do appreciate the feedback on those matters. Honourable Minister, I'm going to give you an opportunity.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for the questions. So I think it would be correct to say that as a starting point that over the last few months there has been some progress, confirmed particularly by the Auditor General, whose judgments are objective and reliable, but that progress is not sufficient given the scale of the problem that we're experiencing. And many of the questions that members raised point to a consideration of that question. It's very clear that the problem that has developed in our country is correctly characterized as a systemic problem that affects critical parts of the system, particularly the municipalities, procurement systems, and so forth, across the country. Now, we have in place a system which requires, if you like, retrospective accountability. The oversight process in Parliament, the auditing process, and the investigative component that currently is mainly shouldered by the DPCI. And we've seen that when that process doesn't work optimally, but it can be improved. It doesn't work optimally. Members have quite rightly pointed to the delays in the whole process, time it takes and continues to take, the fact that there are not as many prosecutions as are needed. And so the process from auditing, investigation, and prosecution really doesn't work optimally. And that involves different components of the system. The MPA is not before you today. But we can and we must make improvement in the, if you like, this retrospective part of the system, retrospective accountability. So the observations that General Nkosi is making about efforts to strengthen the DPCI are important. I can confirm that there are projects in place to kind of, for instance, to strengthen its forensic and data analytical capabilities. Those are complicated projects in themselves. They take time to implement. They're costly and where they're also limited skills. I think that what I will commit to today is to, in response to this meeting, to to have another conversation with the Auditor General, who does outstanding work, and the head of the DPCI, to see how this part of the system can be strengthened. But there has been progress. But if we're dealing with this large-scale problem across the country, which includes elements of organized crime, many members in their questions talked, for instance, about syndicates operating. And I think that is clearly the case, that across the country there have been syndicates operating, particularly in the procurement space and particularly in local governments. It points to the need to strengthen also the preventative, proactive part of our system of accountability, where I think there are major challenges, continue to be major challenges. The council that I had the privilege to chair, the National Anti-Corruption Council, made proposals which tried to address this question. And it included strengthening and restructuring the role of the SIU, precisely because we came to the same conclusion as the committee, this committee, that that's what needed to be strengthened. And so there needs to be a conversation under my responsibility now between the SIU, which falls within the Department of Justice, and the DPCI, which accounts to me. When such big changes, big systemic changes are contemplated, I'm sure honourable members will appreciate that they are difficult to build a consensus on, and difficult also to implement. But it's very clear, and that the reason that I am going into some detail on this matter is that I think it's very important for members of Parliament, not only committee by committee, to start to emphasize the need for systemic reform in our overall architecture. So I'm saying two things. I think where the committee makes recommendations on where the current system needs to be strengthened through stronger investigations, for instance, that's helpful. I think that the observation made by Honourable Mente about termination of contracts is something that needs to be looked at. I assume that there may be legal questions that need to be addressed as well, but certainly it can't be correct that where it's widely understood in a particular community, that a certain contract has been irregularly awarded, and that there are groups of people who are malcontents who are continue to receive contracts and so forth. That needs attention. I don't know what the solution is, but there must be solutions. Now, if we take, for instance, the issues that were raised in Mangaung, very clearly, Mangaung, I mean, it's been very clear for a long time. It's like Tembisa Hospital. There are cartels and syndicates, and there are patterns there of abuse in that particular municipality, but it's unfortunately not the only one. So, because it is many municipalities have the same problems, and I'm not referring to those that have got to do with their tax bases and so forth. We're just talking about, and within the current framework, how local governments can work, need to work much better. Now, the question around the Mangaung municipalities can't be exclusively addressed through the auditing process, the oversight process, and the investigative process carried out by the DPCI. Surely there's a role here for the Department of Local Government. And it might well be that one of the outcomes of this process in the Appropriations Committee could well be, but I am going to write to the Minister, Minister Tlabisa, to say, you know, that we've had this meeting and concerns were expressed about Mangaung, and could his department not consider some kind of comprehensive response, which may well include, you know, if there's a team put together, it might well include the DPCI and certainly the Auditor General. So those municipalities, Mangaung, need even if we strengthen the DPCI and the Auditor General does the work that she's currently doing, it's clearly not going to be sufficient to deal with the systemic and pattern systemic problems and the patterns of abuse in that particular municipality. So I think that the work that's done through this committee, the oversight process, which forms part of the after the fact response, the Auditor General and then the DPCI, clearly that needs to be strengthened. And let's you know, I think when the next time I and the DPCI and the Auditor General are before the committee, we need to show more progress. And but at the same time, I think that I want to convey to the committee that I think there's another part of the system that needs strengthening that generally doesn't emerge from a process like this, and we will have to work on that other side as well. So if the committee would write to the Minister of Local Government, it would also be helpful. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister, for your inputs and also for your commitments. It is understandable that it's a huge task, and it's not an easy task, but the need for successful prosecutions in this regard is also great and urgent, and we appreciate your sentiments in that regard as well. Honourable members, we are very pressed for time, but I am going to allow for urgent follow-up questions, unless members will agree that if there's any urgent questions that we can convey those in writing to the Secretariat, and then provide those written questions to the police, to DPCI, and even to the AG if there's any questions that's outstanding. Could we agree to that? Because otherwise we are already at 10 o'clock, or will members want to ask follow-up questions? Can I get a sentiment from you?
Agreed, Chair, with your
Agreed.
suggestion.
Thank you, Honourable Vilakazi. Appreciate. Honourable members, then if there's any follow-up questions, please provide that in writing to Subeda, and we will compile a list then and send it through with a date for answering, and we'll then provide the answers. We do have an engagement with the SIU on the 29th of May. And we're also endeavouring to make sure that the Minister of Justice attends the meeting, as the proclamations of those investigations are very dependent on the Minister. And I think we need to engage the Minister on that, but we'll provide feedback. Honourable members, we can then move on. Let me once again thank the presenters, the presentation from the DPCI, the Minister, the DMs that's in the meeting, and also the AG for your presence and your inputs and your answers to questions. And then I will release all of you, and the committee can just quickly stay behind so that we can just take care of one or two household issues. But Honourable Minister and AG and DPCI, you are released.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, DM.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Colleagues, on our agenda, we still have left the committee's annual report, and which of the committee's APP rather, which is for our consideration and adoption. I'm not sure if we're going to have time for that. There was an half an hour allocated to that, and we don't have an half an hour. So I want to suggest that we defer that unless we urgently have to adopt that. Maybe Mr. Gaji can just advise me if we can defer that to the 29th. Mr. Magaji?
Good morning, Chair and honorable members. And no, we can't defer it, but actually when we consider it, I mean for your own benefit on preparation, you can look at those highlights. The yellow ones from strategic plan and APP are those ones that we have to debate, discuss about them. And then because I propose some changes, those red ones are those ones that we have never been, there was no movement in the previous financial year. Then we have to make sure that we do something in order to achieve our targets and objectives. That's the only thing that we can, as a provision in preparation for any engagement that we can have in future. So meanwhile, you are having those particular documents. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Magaji. We can, members then do note that it has been circulated, and you can just look at those red and yellow parts in particular, so that we can have a fruitful discussion when we consider the committee's APP for the next financial year. Then, honourable members, I also want to propose that we defer the adoption of the report on the oversight visit. That report is also only for information purposes for the National Assembly. It won't be tabled and discussed in the National Assembly because it's only an oversight visit. So it's not that urgent. So if members agree, then we can also defer that. I know we are piling up the agenda of the 29th, but we'll try to manage it as best as possible on the 29th. I think we'll have a little bit more time on the 29th, though. One very important issue, honourable members, is the study tour that we do need to discuss. You would remember that we originally planned to go on the study tour in April. We did not obtain permission due to two reasons. The one was that it was short. It was a very short time span before we actually planned to leave. And the reason for the delay in the application for approval was the problems with flights and obtaining quotations for flights and viable flights because of the crisis and the war in the Middle East. Flights were very limited, especially at that stage, and also very, very expensive. Where one flight, let me not even mention the amounts, but it was actually ridiculous. And that is then also the second reason was the budget and the fact that it was already in the new financial year. And it was much more than actually our annual budget. and budgets weren't allocated yet, and it put us in a peculiar position with regards to that. We then relooked at dates. We planned for the 15th of June and started to look at possibilities for that, but the parliamentary program changed, and the week of the 15th of June is now a constituency week and not a committee week as it would have been, and it is the first municipal or local government election registration weekend on the 20th, and I foresee that we are going to struggle to obtain permission to go in that week before that registration week. We all, as members of parliament, have political obligations in our communities with regards to the local government election and the registration weekend in particular. And that week is set aside for work in that regard. And that is why we then sought other dates. And we're now looking at the week of the 24th of June. The 23rd of June is a sitting of the National Assembly where the appropriation bill will be considered, the first and second reading of the appropriation bill. The 24th of June is currently provisional question session on the governance cluster, if I remember correctly, but it is most probable that that sitting will be deferred to the third or the fourth term. And in the chief whips, it was discussed that the 23rd will actually be the last sitting of the second term. So most probably that is going to be how it pans out. That means that we will most probably be able to leave on the 24th. It's a committee day. The 25th is a committee day. The rest of that week up until the Friday. And then the next week is constituency week, but I don't think that will be a huge problem because it is then planned that we return on the 1st, arrive back on the 2nd. So we leave on the 24th of June and then return or arrive back on the 2nd of July, the next Thursday. That is the planning, and the planning is then back to the original decision by the committee that we visit both Singapore and South Korea. You would remember that with the April plans, we had to change that because Singapore was not available, and although there was another committee from the National Assembly that had a study tour already planned in that same time. I'm not sure if they actually went on that study tour because of also the flight problems and the cost constraints. But be it as it may, we at that stage would only have visited South Korea. We can now visit both Singapore and South Korea. The prices are also much better, almost half it would have been in April. And but it's still a lot of money because of the situation in the Middle East. Flights are still scarce, and the costs are still high. That does necessitate an unfortunate decision that we'll have to take. We will not be able to take 11 members on the oversight visit. The cost will once again be much more than our budget, and we will most probably not get approval for such costs. That was already the indication of the House chairperson with the original application, and that is why we want to propose that we cut the delegation to make this study tour a reality. Otherwise, we most probably will have to delay this up until next year, because delaying it for later this year is going to be a problem with the elections taking place in November. So the proposal is that we cut the delegation to 5 members and then use a proportional formula, which will then entail, as it's usually done, that the chairperson, together with 1 member from the ANC, 1 member from Mkhonto Sizwe party, 1 member from the EFF, and 1 member from the DA. Sorry, I left out the DA. Will then make up the delegation. That will then entail that, and I really don't think we have another choice. We looked at all possibilities and we consulted, and the administration also advised that that would be the only viable option, to limit the delegation to 5 members. In that, if we do that, that means that each party must please indicate as soon as possible which of your members will be that delegate on the study tour. And we need that as soon as possible to be able to secure the flights and go ahead with the political approval. And all of this is a complicated process, and everything is dependent on each other. So I want to request that parties indicate by the latest Monday afternoon at 12 noon, who that member would be, who will participate in the study tour, so that we do enact our plans to go on the study tour to Singapore and South Korea. So that's the mouthful, members, and that's the request, that we get those, that we cut the delegation to 5 members, and that we then get a delegate indicated from each party by Monday noon. Zubeida, is there anything you want to add before I give members an opportunity for comments or questions?
Oh, thank you, Chairperson. Yes, I think you've said it all. If we could just get the delegates' names as soon as possible, so we can then proceed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Zubeida, and also thanks for your hard work in this regard. It's not an easy process. And also Charlene, that has to work with the travel agents, and that's also not an easy task. Honourable members, any questions, any comments in this regard?
Chairperson,
Honourable Subrati, then Honourable Mente.
Chair, mine is to indicate, at least to place on record my concern regarding what appears to have been, we could have done better in our planning, Chairperson. I just feel that we haven't really prioritized the international benchmarking tour. And in our brief experience going to Johannesburg in the last oversight, there were gaps in terms of the logistics planning. In fact, I was booked for 2 nights to stay in the hotel instead of 1 night. And that talks to me of a systemic problem in terms of the type of support we're getting in the back office. And I don't want that to be the result. It really is difficult for me as the representing the African National Congress, the largest party in parliament, to be given just 1 seat. It means that we're going to have to say no to other members. But I think that the support team needs to do better, and international benchmarking tours must be prioritized and given the importance, Chairperson. I wanted to place that on record. And we can't have excuses given to us that the service providers are not doing the job. There's no freebies. Everybody's getting paid generously. We must get the best service provider to serve the committee to the best of our ability, Chairperson. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Subrati. Your concerns are noted, but let me say, I think the oversight visit to Johannesburg was a very short notice of the planning thereof, and in that same time, all the back and forth was being done with regards to the study tour. I can assure you, Honourable Member, that the planning for this started already last year, after we resolved to have a study tour, you would remember that it was then commissioned our research report to look at the various options for jurisdictions. Early this year, we already resolved as a committee where we would want to go, and as soon as that decision was taken by the committee, the logistics and the administrative process started. But it's noted, and it's always good to strive to do better. But I can say that in this instance, I really don't think that it is the support staff that is guilty of any neglect in this regard. And with regards to the service provider, members must remember that the committee does not have a choice who to use. It is a contract that was entered into by Parliament, and the Chairperson's Forum and House Chairperson Frolic expressed our deep concern with regards to the decision by Parliament to secure and to grant that contract to this particular service provider, as in the past, a number of years ago, we had the same service provider and we had the same problems with the specific service provider. And it's not only our committee, it's all committees. And then it's coupled with the fact that the costs were just enormous. And it doesn't help that you want to try and obtain permission for a study tour if the cost is 6 million rand or 4 million rand. So the best quotations through that particular service agent, travel agent, was sourced. And that took time, and a lot of unavailability of flights at that stage were also the problem. It was really a problem that nobody could fly via Dubai and via Abu Dhabi. And that meant that airlines such as Singapore Airlines, and in particular the layover hub for the rest of the certain routes, became Singapore, and those flights were just full. We really battled to get available flights, but it is noted, honourable member. And then, I really do think it's beyond our control with regards to costs. And let me not elaborate on what I think also happens with regards to travel agents. And members would know that I am I'm known to have spoken on this issue many times, also in budget debates with regards to the amount of money we spend and waste because of travel agents that charge a lot more for airline tickets. I can give you one example. The chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Women, Children and People with Disability could not attend the UN summit in New York because she had approval, political approval, but the final flight airline ticket would have cost 1 million rand for one person to travel to New York and return. 1 million rand, not accommodation, ground transport, just the airline ticket. And that was the only available ticket. So, honourable members, we really do have a problem, and it's much bigger than SCoAG or its support staff. It's a systemic problem, and it's a travel agent problem. But let's leave it there, and please address this in your caucuses as well, so that all our caucus members that form part of the Financial Management of Parliament committee can also address these issues. We've had a few meetings now 2 weeks ago, as well as the Chairperson's Forum, and the issue of study tours is really a very, very, very big issue, and a problem that's receiving attention but is not resolved yet. And that's why we propose that we try to just get approval and get this study tour going. And unfortunately, that means sacrificing that all members cannot attend, and it's really not an easy decision. And I do understand the problem that that the ANC and other parties are also in with regards to that. Honourable Mente.
Thank you, Chair. No, Chair, I think the purpose of the study tool is benchmarking, and given the state within which our country is finding itself in, and today's report was an example of the extent to which corruption has taken over and how best as SCoAG can we assist the Auditor General in arresting this behavior, and also to check, because remember we have the culture change now with AG, and that culture change requires us to have enough information as well as skill and experience to assist the Auditor General. We need to follow the money throughout. So I'm doing this, Chair, because I think more members ought to get that experience. And as such, to take only 5 people, I don't think it's going to serve the purpose, simply because of the budget issues, and they are informed or rather influenced by the Middle East issues. Now, my proposal would be, because we're heading to registration weekend, mid-June, like you said, and immediately after that, we are going to go to mid-term budget. And most of us here, if not all of us, we serve in more than one committee. As I'm here now, SCOPA is ongoing on the other side. So I would propose that elections are on the 4th of November, and that week, I think the last week of November or first week of December is usually the week of committees to do such things. And I know even the issues of IPUs, SADC, and all of that, they are undertaken during those moments. I think it will be fruitful at the time, and I hope by then also the issues of the Middle East would have subsided, which will then help us to reduce the price of tickets and all of that. That's my proposal, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Mente. Members, you hear the proposal. So it is, it can be that we might be in a better position in November. Just be aware of the fact that November does hold its own issues, or complicated scheduling issues. The week after the election is still a constituency week to provide for members that are involved in their various constituencies, municipalities, where there might be with the formation of the different councils after the election. Honourable members know that there might be a lot of coalition negotiations and all of that in that week. And then the week after that, it is plenaries for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. There's very little committee weeks, if I remember correctly, provided for. And also remember that the medium-term budget will be tabled either on the 21st of October, which will mean that just after the elections, BRRR reports will be started, and there will be the process of adopting that medium-term and adjustment appropriation bills, which then will mean hereby early December, that bill will be considered. Otherwise, there's a possibility that the medium-term budget will only be tabled the 2 weeks after the election, which will then mean that we will come back in January 2027 like we did this year, to consider at the first and second reading of that adjustment appropriation bill. But be it as it may, keep that in mind. I also hear, Honourable Mentor, what you say about it's not the ideal that only a few members go. The other possibility or something else to consider that has been ventilated by the House Chairperson is that if it's from the from administration and from the presiding officers and the executive authorities side, it is advised that delegations are rather slimlined and smaller, but that it is then possible to have more than one study tour in a term. It then might be possible to have another study tour next year and take the other members to do that benchmarking, which is actually the ideal, to have more than only these jurisdictions to benchmark on. I'm not saying that is guaranteed, but it is a possibility, and especially if the outlook changes and certain the budget aspect changes and the Middle East changes and so forth, there is those possibilities. But you hear the proposal, honourable members. I would want your input. Do we postpone this till after the elections and try to get a full delegation? It's also not guaranteed that we will get approval for a full delegation then. The same obstacles might exist. Or do we go ahead now and endeavour to have another study tour as well, somewhere in 2027, perhaps, and give the other members an opportunity to attend such? Let me hear your inputs, members. Honourable Subrati, you assist me?
Yeah, Chairperson, I think in the interest of inclusivity, we are a team. I think we should make every effort to accommodate as many honourable members as possible. And I'm not quite sure why Honourable Vilakazi, the DA, is quiet. From my understanding from another committee, the DA has put a moratorium on their travel till end of May. So I'm not quite sure if Honourable Vilakazi or Honourable Mary are aware of that. In another committee I serve on, that has been a consideration. So whether they will be able to travel in June remains to be seen. Chairperson, I'm supportive of the idea that as a team, we should try and include as many members as possible. And therefore, I would support the suggestion of a deferment so that we can achieve that. We might not get an opportunity for all to go, but I think if we can get the number from 5 to increase to 7 or 8, I think that would be an improvement to just having 5 members. So I would support that consideration in the spirit of getting as many members as possible on board, so that we have a broader perspective or more hands on deck when we go on the study tour. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Subrati. I hear you. The question is, if you say more members, we would. This is the formula that is used. We can go for we can try even now for more than 5 members, but we have the difficulty. Which parties will really get more members? It will be the ANC. Other parties are represented, full-time members are only 2. So it's yeah, we'll have to go and look at that. But it is possible, I think, that we might even get approval for 7 or 8 members at this stage already for this tour. But I do hear you. You support deferring it and till after the election, I presume.
No, I think. Sorry, Honourable Vessels. I think if that's the case, which was not made known, As the ANC, I don't feel appropriate that only one member of the ANC goes, and that's the position I would take. And if you say to me there is an opportunity for more members to travel in this period, then we should do it. There's no guarantee, having said that conditions could improve in the Middle East. But if there's an opportunity now to travel, because the case that Honorable Mente made was that more members should travel. And I'm supporting that in principle, that if there's an opportunity for more members to travel, then I'll support it. And if you say it's possible for us to go to 7 or 8 now, then that should be the first prize that should have been brought to the committee, not the prize of 5 members, Honorable Vessels. So if that is a possibility, then I would urge the chairperson and the committee and the secretary to get us clarity by Monday in terms of the number of members that we can travel, and then we should go ahead in June. Then I would support it, because it's underlying, it's based on the principle as many members as possible as we can take on the study tour, we should take. So I support it if we can get more numbers, and I'm happy to travel in June, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Subrati. I hear you, but once again, I'm asking you, how does that formula look in terms of the composition of this committee? I hear you want more members from the ANC, but it won't be proportional or necessarily fair if we only adjust the ANC's delegation and no other party's delegation. And that's why the 5-member delegation is to a certain extent more fair, and most other committees use that exact composition on study tours. But if we come up with a composition and we try for approval, and members are satisfied with that, then we can try that. But let me hear Honorable Vilakazi.
Good morning again, Chairperson and colleagues. Firstly, I'm deputy spokesperson on the AG, so if anyone goes, chances are higher that my spokesperson will go, and I won't. So I just want to put that out there. My view, though, it's a couple of things. Firstly, it's just looking at the principle of why we are going, as opposed to necessarily the number of individuals. We're looking to go there, get some information that can come and assist the processes within our committee, as well as the AGSA's office, who we serve and have oversight over. I feel that maybe one way to look at maximizing the benefit from going now is just ensuring a process of cascading or information sharing from the people that go now. Just ensuring that there is indeed information sharing, maybe even a workshop to get everybody up to speed with what transpired, what were the recommendations, what are the things that we think we can do as a committee arising, what are the lessons learned from the trip. So I think that's one way to mitigate fewer people going. The second thing is, if you look at cost, I don't know that the cost will have changed much. Every analyst that you speak to tells us that the costs of the blockade in the Middle East are still going to reverberate even harder, because lots of countries now are using reserves. You may have heard in the news that lots of countries have released reserves into the market to keep prices low, oil prices, jet fuel prices low, etc. But this is going to impact the world for the next year at least. So prices might not be better later on in the year necessarily. Thirdly, the longer we delay it, the higher the chances that it won't happen at all. It's just a good chance that something else will come along that scuppers arrangements. And so then you find that, oh, for this other reason, now now we are chasing financial year end, let's just do it before March. And then, like happened this past financial year. So I think that for me, if the opportunity arises, let's go. And those who are I don't even want to say fortunate enough, but those who happen to be able to go to do that representing their group, and they come back and they share with us what they've done. And if we have another, because that same option of going later might almost has the same chances of happening as then having another trip next year. Those of us that may not have had the opportunity to go this time will then have the opportunity to go. In summary, Chair, my view is that if we have the opportunity to go now, let's take that opportunity and rather look at how do we optimize the value once that trip gets back, so that we can know that we were able to get full benefit from it.
Thank you, Honourable Vilakazi. Appreciate. Honourable members, there's then, I think, 3 permutations that the delegation can take on. Would you agree that we try to get approval for an 8-member delegation? That would entail myself as chairperson, 3 members from the ANC, 2 members from the DA, 1 from Mkhonto we Sizwe Party, and 1 from the EFF. Would that be something that you would have appetite for if we try to get approval for that? Can I see?
Just repeat the numbers. Just repeat the numbers, the allocation, please.
3 ANC, 2 DA, 1 MK, and 1 EFF. And myself.
Sure, I will be supportive of that proposal. That's a significant change from 5 members. It's now what we're saying is 8 members will travel. That is a better allocation, Chairperson. I would support such an allocation.
It's better, but there's a very big possibility that we won't get approval for that 8 members. That I can guarantee you, and the approval is not in my hands or in the staff members' hands. So we'll propose that, and we'll try to get approval on 8 members. The alternative is to do it 2 members from the ANC, 1 from the DA, 1 from MK, 1 from EFF, and myself. That is 3, 4, 5, 6 members. Is there appetite for that as an alternative if the 8 members is declined? Any objection to that permutation?
Yeah, we can consider that, Chairperson, as the second price. That's right.
As a second price, yeah. Okay, so we'll work on those 2 options, and we'll firstly submit an 8-member delegation. If that is declined, we'll then go to the 6-member delegation. But we are pressed for time. Once again, please do send the names of who your delegates will be for both permutations. If it's 8 members, meaning if there's 3 members from the ANC, 2 members from the DA, 1 from Mkhonto we Sizwe Party, 1 from the EFF, please send those names. If there's 6 members, please send the 2 members from the ANC and the 1 member from the DA, and the other 2 parties will remain the same. And myself. You're unfortunately not getting rid of me this time. Honourable Minister, thank you for your patience in this regard and your understanding. It's not easy, but we are trying to do our best to get this international benchmarking done. And as the Honourable Mente also put it, it is very important if we take into account what we also saw today and where we are with regards to the accountability ecosystem. We're not in a good place if there's no consequences, and we have to go and benchmark how other jurisdictions do it. And this is an important part of our annual performance plan as well, and it would it would be desirable, in my opinion, to do it as soon as possible. So thank you very much for your inputs, and once again, thank you to the staff for your hard work in this regard and your patience. And we will please do communicate before Monday noon your delegates' names, and then we will keep you abreast of the outcome of our application with the House Chairperson and the structures. Thank you very much, honourable members. Once again, thank you for your attendance and your contributions. And our next meeting is then on the 29th of May. We'll try to get as much done on that day. And as I said earlier, it is our engagement with the Special Investigative Unit. And I also feel strongly that we have to have the Minister of Justice as part of that meeting, so that we can also engage on the promulgation of those investigations, which I think do cause significant delays currently in those referrals of material irregularities. So thank you, colleagues, and have a good weekend, and we'll keep each other informed, and we'll keep the communication open. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Record